As it turns out, last week I made a completely frivolous purchase. I spent $4 of my hard-earned money and I gave it to David Weiss for a copy of his Flat Earth Clock app. I was slightly intrigued by the description in the app, and although I did hear of it a few years ago, I was reminded of it and became a little bit curious of the app itself. When Slice Barcane challenged David Weiss to the accuracy of his app, and it seems that if my internet connection is complete and utter garbage, which it is at the moment, then the app is completely useless. I can't get to the main part of the app without restarting it. Lovely. So anyways, Slice Barcane put out a challenge to David Weiss as to the accuracy of his Flat Earth Clock app, and I was also a little bit intrigued by the description of it. So I'm going to show the description of what I see in the Apple App Store thing, whatever, available on my iPad. And then I will try to walk through all of the options as quickly as possible before this stupid thing shows up again. Assuming you can get there. The first thing that you see when you first run it on a new device is the terms of service. Unfortunately, I did not have the presence of mind to capture that on my iPad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show the terms of service that I was able to record when I ran it on my iPhone for the first time. Once you get past the terms of service page, and assuming you've got half decent internet, then you're going to be shown the main screen as you see here. The centerpiece of this application is the centerpiece of the app is the clock face itself, and it is your standard typical analog clock with the minute hand needle similar to train station clocks. You'll see it jumped like that when the second hand needle reached the 12 o'clock marker. The hour hand is based on a 24-hour clock, not a 12-hour, so it only makes one revolution every day, not two. And the sun seems to always be over the hour hand and not necessarily directly over it. It seems to be a little bit off to one side. You'll also see the moon is right now over the equator, but that is yet another topic for another video, and I'm probably going to end up making a lot of short videos to talk about all of the various things that I see wrong with this app. So I'm not going to cover the main clock face too much more in this one. I want to focus mainly on the options and the widgets around the edges of the clock, which are really probably intended to be the main features of this app. Although the clock seems to be the centerpiece of the app itself, it seems fairly clear to me when you look at all of the different features that it is really all the other features that Dearth is trying to sell us as being the main features. So from the left hand side, top down, you'll see that you've got the time, the date, and the weekday. I'll come back to that in a few minutes whenever I start talking about some of the other features. Beneath that, you'll see two circular buttons. One of them looks like a little conversation balloon. I'm going to press that, and hopefully it's not going to screw up. But if I press that, it takes me out of forest landscape mode and switches me to forest portrait mode. And it makes no difference which way I orient the iPad, it always wants to be in this orientation. I'm going to exit out of here, and there's a bug. It stays in portrait mode and I have to rotate the iPad. And speaking of forest modes, it wants to display in this orientation. If I tip the iPad over on the other side, it thinks, oh, maybe I should rotate that way. Then it says, no, I want to rotate back. So that was entirely on its own. So it forces me to hold the iPad in a single orientation as I'm using it on either of those two pages. The other one is what appears to be incoming messages from the app developer. If I click on this, you'll see that it's got lots of typos, and if I click on this, it's got more typos. So now if I back up, beneath that you'll see the countdown timer. If I click on that, it allows you to set, clear, run, whatever weird special event that you might have, and it allows you to drool over the number of months, days, and hours that are left before said event takes place. Bottom left is a featured video. These featured videos are almost certainly curated by David Weiss himself. If we look on the right hand side, you'll see at the top right weather icon widget, which also includes sunrise and sunset. Beneath that is the moon phase. Right now it indicates that it is 78% to 85%, which is not correct. And I'm going to be making more videos, and one of them will be on the moon phases and the way the moon is represented in this app. Beneath that are little circular button things that take you to various different features. The first one is going to be the little handshake, and when I click on that, it takes me to a quote-unquote friend finder. I've got a very serious issue with this app. I took my iPad out to not where the pin is, but I took the iPad to the Nepean Sailing Club, and I told them where I was, roughly right about there in the middle of the screen. So I was standing right about there. I also told iOS to give a general location, not my exact location. That's why there's a very big circle around where I was. And just before I left, I turned that feature off so that this app does not know where I live. Incidentally, the weather forecast that you see is Incidentally, the weather forecast that you see is not from today, but last Saturday when I went to the Nepean Sailing Club, which means that if you want the weather forecast for the current date, you're going to have to continually let them know where you live, even though it would be just as easy for them to give you an input box so that you could type in whatever latitude, longitude you wanted, or even as an alternative, look up the city and default to that, or completely failing that, they could at least update the weather from the last reported geoposition. After that, we have the question mark, and the question mark is a series of if I had internet. That would be a series of playlists that Dearth has put together to try to explain to people why the Earth should be flat. After that, we have the merch store. Go and buy your t-shirts over here. Then we have the web resources, which are basically a series of playlists and external resources that are supposedly flat Earth friendly. Next one after that is a series of books that are flat Earth related. Next, this section seems to be targeting kids. This is a section that shows flat Earth videos in various other languages. The next one allows you to toggle on and off the 24-hour ring that shows what the hour should be for pretty much anywhere in the world. So as you can see, Sydney, Australia should be somewhere roughly around 8:30 at night, maybe, if I read that correctly. Next is a compass, which is, it basically uses the compass feature of your device so that as you rotate it, it reorients itself north. And there are two modes to it. The first mode is this, which shows the north in the middle and south in all directions away from north, implying that there is one north pole and an infinite number of south poles. I'll show that in just a minute, but there is a setting to change that so that it replaces it with a standard 4-direction cardinal north, south, east, west mapping. Next feature is the zodiac thing. So we can see that the sun is, what is that? Is that the constellation of Cancer? But that's for astrology stuff. After that, we can jump ahead a month at a time like this. So you have to keep clicking the button, and if you let go, after a short period of time, it will revert back to the current date. And the next button after that is a whole bunch of memes, and I don't know if these memes were provided by Dearth and other people took them and posted them on their social media, or if these come from social media and Dearth put them in here, or if this is some sort of feedback loop where they all keep passing each other's memes along. But I've seen quite a number of these memes on Twitter. And then the last one is, I think, my favorite. It shows the wind, the magnetic flux, the oceans on the azimuthal projection, the conic projection, and the globe. And what's even interesting is, although it's very, very twitchy, with a little bit of practice, you can kind of get this thing after a while. Situated over Antarctica like this. And so if we pay attention very closely, the wind patterns around southern hemisphere look fairly circular. This is especially true in the Pacific Ocean, just west of the very tip of South America, and a little bit further west and a little bit more north. And there are a few other relatively circular patterns at the moment halfway between South America and South Africa. And if I switch this back to the flat Earth map of choice, the azimuthal projection, and we see how that looks at around the 9 o'clock direction, they don't quite appear circular, and it is extremely elliptical between South America and South Africa. And it's quite interesting that a flat Earth clock app would include a feature that would show that it works better on a globe than on a flat map. And finally, the last features I would like to talk about are on the bottom right, there's a little button icon that looks like a rabbit. And right now that is the standard run mode. It's supposed to show what everything looks like in real time. If I click on the middle button, it goes into a slightly faster mode, and basically all it means is that 1 hour's worth is worth about 4 seconds of animation. If I click on the next one, it goes even faster than that. And what I did was I recorded an entire year's worth of animation at this speed, and I took my own skywatching app that I developed, which I had already created a flat Earth clock app equivalent mode to it. And with a little bit of tweaking, I was able to export the video frames with a transparent background and without rendering the background, so that I could then take my rendered image and superimpose it over this animation that you see here. The last feature I would like to show are all of the various options in the settings. So when you go into the settings, you have the option of sending an email to the developer. If you pay for a subscription service, you can unlock all the features, I guess, possibly. I haven't really clicked on some of these buttons. You can tell a friend. You can give David Weiss money and he'll give you a code that you can then send to somebody else, and they can use the app on your dime. After that, you've got something for flat earth books. I don't know. Next, you can choose different backgrounds, and actually my favorite is to use the random background. I think that's probably the only real half decent feature of this app that I can think of. After that, I don't know what this countdown timer does that the other one doesn't, but there you have it. Next is the clock format. On the right, you've got the standard 24-hour clock, or you can, instead of having 13 to 24, it replaces it with repeating 1 to 12. After that, you've got the set compass format. That is where you can choose whether to have north in the middle and duplicate souths around the outside, or you can have what they call the personal view, which is the 4 cardinal directions around the outside perimeter. Next, you can turn a whole bunch of features on and off, and just above that you've got a few more. Friend finder zoom out, I didn't toggle that and I don't really care to, but you also have the ability to choose, I guess this is the units, Fahrenheit or Celsius. You can turn on or off various audio chimes. I'm going to talk about the daylight saving in another video. You can toggle on and off the weather widget, the show countdown widget, which is on the left hand side in the middle of the screen. Toggle on or off the featured video that's in the bottom left. Toggle on and off the date widget, the moon phase widget, and at the very bottom you've got another widget to orient the map either to your own location or to any time zone of your choosing. So those are the main features, and I almost forgot to talk about the time on the upper left. So as you can see right now, it's 6:49 a.m. on July 9th. If I click on the little speed thing and jump ahead slightly, the time jumps ahead once every hour. And this is a rather interesting feature, if you will. Right now it is 6:50 a.m. When I go ahead like this, it updates the time and the date, 11:50, 12:50, 1:50 p.m., so on and so forth. And that's going to be fairly significant in one of the upcoming videos, so I would recommend that you keep that in mind when I get to that in one of these next videos. Now if I click on the really fast speed at this point, the time reverts back to my time, but the date and the day of the week change to represent the time that the clock is currently showing, or rather the date of where the sun is supposed to be directly overhead. So that's basically going to be the overview of the app. It's a fairly high level of all of the features that I was able to find. The only feature I really didn't show how it works is choosing your location or telling the app how to orient the map, but I'm going to save that for another video. So that basically covers the main sections of the app. If you like the video, I would appreciate the thumbs up, the subscribe, the comment below, all that other good YouTube stuff. And so that's really going to be it for this video for now. Thank you for watching, and I'm going to see you again in another video soon enough. So bye for now.